Welcome back, guys. We're here at the LCK Summer 2019. It's me, Valdez, with Papa Smithy. We're about to jump into a very important matchup for both of these teams. SANDBOX up against SKT. Will determine a lot about placements and even if SKT can even make it into playoffs as well. So a lot on the line for both of these teams.
Honestly, it feels, Valdez, that we went out of the frying pan that was all the emotion of potentially KTs staying in the LCK and scores last match ever on this stage into playoffs. 3 best of 3s only remain in LCK Summer 2019 regular season. Every single one involves one of the top 3 teams who are trying to get to 13 match wins and be the first to anoint themselves as grand finalists by finishing the regular season in first. There's also that group trying to make it to top 5, and every game decides something. So get ready, guys. Even though we're starting super late, it's 9 p.m. Korean Standard Time. Ready check for LEC goes live in 2.5 hours. We might be competing with that European League of Legends. Get out of the way. We got some last-minute action to enjoy over here.
We got some action, and no doubt we're going to 3 games because I'm back casting.
That's true.
And I'm on a streak, guys. I did 2 days in a row with 6 games, and now this 3rd day is going to be the 3rd day in a row because it's just so damn close. SANDBOX and SKT, absolutely, this could go either way. I think the most unlikely result is a 2-0, but you'd have to lean SKT's direction.
I would say 2-0
SKT,
2-1 SANDBOX are kind of like the most likely results, and yet it could go anywhere. SKT have been very off color in the last couple of series, only a single game win between the 2 series they played, and most surprisingly, the loss to Hanwha Life Esports. Really, really hard to work it out because SANDBOX are one of those top teams that gives you chances. They don't kill games like Griffin or Damwon Gaming on their best day. They are very reliable. They make a lot of good decisions, and they can also really surprise you with poor decisions, Valdez. So it's so hard to know where this series will go, and I can tell you where it starts for SKT fans. They know what they like, they know what they don't like, and they don't like the recent drafts. They want those straight in the trash. What are we even going to see in pick ban from SKT?
Well, speaking of pick ban, it's new Aatrox Master Summit against OG Aatrox expert Kahn, who's going to get the Darkened Blade in hand. We saw a bit of Aatrox in our first series, but you'd have to imagine that the priority is going to go way up for the second one. And the rest of the points are all about, you know, playoffs and seeding and stuff like that.
SANDBOX wins. They are first for now, with the other 2 first place vying teams to play. And FLICKR will lock their playoff spot with the victory here. It would definitely hurt SKT's game score, and that's the reason it will be guaranteed. So, let's look at numbers, and this is a very interesting one. Gold lead at 25. Now, this is actually a good result for SKT, more than necessarily as surprising a result for SANDBOX, because SKT have 1 less games, and yet, when they've had the game in their hands at 25, they have a very similar win rate. So, I know that's pretty late in the game, but we're Korea. We play 38 all the time. We just had 2 50-minute games in our first series. Spoilers, 25 minutes, even if it's 100 gold, victory assured.
It also had a win rate with first Dragon, which interestingly was very strong for the side of SKT. This was SANDBOX up against KT, where KT got so close to defeating SANDBOX in multiple games, but they were just barely not able to get on over the line, and it says a lot about SANDBOX as well that they struggled a bit against KT, one of our bottom teams, but they were finally able to put this one in the bag.
So OnFleek clutching it out with his flank on Sejuani, and a reminder that we've got some of those pesky one tricks. And yes, they play other stuff, but we've got our only Draven player. We've got our resident Xinjiao and Jax jungle player. We've got Summit, who's just a really good player, it turns out. We got lots of little tricky people in this game, so they don't always do it the way other Korean teams do it, but they are solid, you would say, SANDBOX Gaming, especially from ahead.
SANDBOX again 2 seasons in a row they're going to make playoffs. Say what you will about this team, I feel like I'm getting more and more confident the more I watch them, but we are also going to have to mention SKT. They went down to Hanwha, and then they went down to Damwon 2-0. It's not the best look if you're an SKT fan.
That was a pretty good look, though. Really nice golden Zonia's pose there. I give that one a 9 out of 10 for doing our synchronized diving ratings. But it was the FLICKR twofer on the Karma with largely a one-threat comp. Where in game number 1, Teddy and Effort fought a couple of times. They lost. Mada came in. Not too much change. It was a little bit more solid, and yet Damwon Gaming were too good. It's a very different team because Damwon Gaming, of this kind of Damwon SANDBOX surprise packet 2019 stories, they beat you with mechanical talent. And that's really not SANDBOX outside of when Summit's flexing on people. So given that it's a bit different here, I'm so interested to know which SKT it is today, as the top lane comparison is a very intriguing one, given that Kahn has definitely had stock lowering in 2019. He hasn't had necessarily a poor year, but he's been questioned even more this year than last year. Meanwhile, Summit, people really have so many good things to say about one of our surprise packet players.
Yeah, ignore the KDAs here. That's what I'd like to say. Summit, absolutely top 3 for the top lane for me, at least. The guy is pretty unbelievable. Really sick mechanics, and recently, apparently, a very strong Aatrox player. So we'll see what he can do. You don't usually see that high of damage percentage from top laners, but both of these guys like to get down and dirty in the team fights of above 25%. So either way, guys, we're just about ready to introduce our team. SANDBOX, same lineup you know and love, will be coming out here once again tonight to do their best and try to clinch that first place spot.
That is what it's all about. Nothing is decided for first spot today, and nothing is decided for whether SKT will make playoffs today. But if they don't win against SANDBOX, they have to look at a lot of other results going their way, and that's scary, Valdez. No one likes that when you have to really think. They are one match behind FLICKR, one match to play, FLICKR is done, and they'd be relying on Damwon Gaming to do them a favor over Gen.G. So, who does SKT roll? Because remember, Mada was playing in their last game, second loss to Damwon Gaming. They go back to what had been an unbroken streak of starters and largely a lot of wins. It will be effort for game number 1.
Yeah, and you know, they gave Mada a chance. He came out, he wasn't able to quite carry in his old ways. They did lose that one, so I don't mind the swap. I know Mada has a lot of fans, but they're trying to get someone in here consistently to do the job and do it well. And so far, that's been more effort than Mada, so comes out here once again. And another big question, will FLICKR be playing Karma every single game? I know I was in the chat watching their last series against Damwon. That made a lot of people very unsettled and unhappy, Papa.
The comps weren't bad, but rolling it back what doesn't work is what Griffin fans got so mad about. What every fan gets so mad about. It doesn't matter how many times it worked in scrim since you last played. If it didn't work on stage and you basically roll entire comp back as close as possible, that's going to always be a tilter. You got to win with it. Kind of like people who are kind of mad about the rock, paper, scissors that G2 were playing and then the Kazakhs that lost. The style picks, if you win, oh boy, does it look good. If you do something that could potentially be a flare point and you lose, you invite all the aggro your way. Here is Zephyr, the man who's had to tank aggro quite a bit in 2019. No Coma on stage. He was there when the team couldn't win during the run of players. Hello to you, global fan. But it is Zephyr back in the cases. That is a pretty good shades on drawing.
It's Sonya's OnFleek. That was what it said down at the bottom. It was nice. It was golden. I like it. We'll see how often he goes golden in this series. We've been talking a lot about stopwatch as well. But now it gets down to the nitty-gritty, getting into pick ban here for game 1.
And Akali Aatrox, the double A's are the ones I'm focused on because SANDBOX are probably our best Akali team. That doesn't mean they have the best Akali player. I would argue that is Showmaker, but Dove and Summit both play it as kind of an at worst A-, probably A level, and that means it's so difficult to deal with the Akali pick on blue side. FLICKR is a great Akali player to his credit, and the Aatrox has been played so many times by Kahn, in particular 17 games. I just want him to lock it in today. He won't in game number 1, because then it's an entire LCS split worth of Aatrox.
Yeah, I mean, I hope he does. We'll see if it happens. You mentioned the two A's. They both get banned this time around. That does leave our favorite duo, Corki and Azir, left available. We'll see if the Corki gets first pick. Tahm Kench also available if they want to go down that route.
The Kench I'm not as into recently. He's definitely gone down in terms of priority, but we'll be locked here anyway. I guess they're threatening the Tahm Kench Varus kind of scenario here from the side of SANDBOX, and we've had so many pick comps this week that at least Tahm Kench Devour will always find some value. Reviewers tilt when it comes to Azir versus Corki. We haven't had that matchup too many times, but this does appear like it's going to be a Corki lock-in, and the flexes have been minimal to the top lane, unlike how challengers and solo queue had led us to believe.
Yeah. How about they just lock in both of them right here? Flex one of them top side.
80 carry, potentially.
Deny it away from Dove.
Corki can go 80 carry. Happens from time to time as well. Reckless been playing it over in the LEC. It's going to be the Varus takeaway from the Tahm Kench. That is the strongest possible Tahm Kench lane. Now, you could just go Draven Kench here, which is something they'll, I'm sure, be discussing, because I actually have a Draven player on SANDBOX's side.
Instead of that, it's going to be the Karma and everybody's favorite mid laner, the bird himself, the one who wears golden clothes. It's Azir. And, yeah, now we're just looking for a support here for the bottom lane for SKT to go alongside the Varus Braum. We saw that before.
And sadly, SKT fans very disappointed that Karma has been stolen away from them. They won't be able to play it this time. Good news, Lulu unlikely to be banned, and a FLICKR special.
Oh, hell yeah. Let's do it. Soraka mid. Let's make FLICKR be the funneling support mid again. You remember when that was happening last year?
You mean 2 days ago?
Well, I mean the funnel support.
Oh, you mean when he played Taric?
Yeah, when he played Taric.
Oh,
that
man.
made a lot of fans really happy.
Don't you dare ban that Lulu, SANDBOX. Leave it open.
That would be the most likely one.
What if it went through and we had Corki Tahm Varus?
Yeah, there you go.
People would be so mad.
How about you throw Kahn on the Lulu? Get someone else on a supporting
I hear Galio passive was buffed, so he's ready to go back in that.
Oh, great.
Oh, we love to tank aggro ourselves here on the caster desk.
Let's
As the
replay
Xinjiao removed.
2018.
Last time these two teams faced was the only time OnFleek showed us his very dapper Jax jungle, and that is, of course, his most famous pick coming through to the LCK. So, I, for one, would love to see OnFleek join the cavalcade of crazy that began with SKT playing Quinn. And from there, we've had all manner of madness. We've had Azereth. Things have been all over on the Rift. So I would love to see some Jungle Jacks returning. Silas will not, so Silas, Sejuani. Where are we doing in terms of junglers? Because Clid's Lee Sin is up and usually doesn't need too much introduction.
Probably looking to take that here and then save counter pick for top lane and potential flex with the Corki.
Olaf, Elise, Jax are kind of what I'm thinking about for jungle. Probably not Elise, given they already have a lot of magic damage on their side. See what's happening here, because we think Azir into the mid lane and Karma into the top lane. So jungle AD carry ostensibly is what we're looking for in the draft, but it could be other stuff. How spicy are we getting here, Valdez?
Well, with the hover and lock-in of Kennen, that raises some questions.
Karma with Spell Thieves in the bot lane? Possible.
How about support Kennen? Top.
Top Kench? Blind?
Toppest Kench?
Yes, this is the only way this draft can be rounded out, with a Kha'Zix.
Oh, yeah, of course. What else?
Yeah, all right. Well, there's a draft.
They really pulled out all the stops today against SKT.
What are we doing? We're playing for first. This is some crazy, crazy stuff. This is a hell of a drug. I'm overdosing over here, Valdez. Please, sir, could you give me the IV and explain where all these champions are going?
Look at Kahn scratching his head. He's like, so what am I playing against? Exactly. Let's just pick Vladimir. That's good in the late game.
Well, Vladimir is actually super good against all of these champions in the late game, like you mentioned, especially Kha'Zix. He dies accidentally to RE.
Yeah.
So, you would assume Kha'Zix' jungle, and it is my first thought of the good old Karma Kench bot. All right.
I mean, they're not going to die, right, SANDBOX?
You know, they are actually
Right,
known for dying in the 2v2, so it could definitely happen here. What are we doing? In this particular case, Karma 80 carry, good old Reckless has been showing that one off. Karma Kench, will it be Doran's Ring or will it be Spell Thieves? Because when we saw Reckless doing it, it was just Ring or Corrupting. It definitely wasn't Spell Thieves too. And the gold generation days are a little bit behind us, so interesting. Zephyr just goes for the handshake, being like, I don't know if I should be handshaking you.
The SANDBOX coach was holding back a laugh. He's like...
You know why?
Sorry about that.
Because there's a bit of personality between the two. They used to be the drafting coaches together over FLICKR Freaks last year. We gave them so much credit there, went their separate ways. Comet went over to Suning before rejoining SANDBOX, and he goes over to his old mate Zephyr and he says, yep, we drafted that.
That actually happened. Zephyr with no reaction, as is mostly the case.
We know exactly what SKT's draft does, and good news, there's a lot of different damage dealers, and it goes into the late game. But there's such a right turn on this SANDBOX draft. They whimpered over the line against KT. They were clearly saving things for today.
Absolutely, as, again, Ghost is going to be having some problems here.
We got to pause, guys. Ghost is disconnected from the lobby. We've had this a couple of times this week so far.
Yeah.
Getting into games hasn't been trivial, so I kind of wish we could just throw the champs up again and kind of talk about how it all works. But very, very intriguing because the bot lane here is all about pushing in. So it's, on the one hand, SANDBOX has done something that says, we will not just auto-lose to a Varus Braum style lane. We're going to have a lane that always has priority and pushing. I'll see if there's cleanse here from Karma, because kind of cleanse or TP are your options in this lane. Probably not, because Tom Kench is there. What are we yelling or yawning about? We get playoffs, I think is the gist of it.
Yeah, but who is that? Was the question I was wondering.
SANDBOX logo, I assume, here. It looks like one of those things you get at a Korean convenience store. As here are some SANDBOX fans.
Left one is, what are you doing? And the right one is, wake up.
Whoa, look at that Mata. And another yawning person. It's FLICKR.
I guess it's FLICKR, the first one as well. Must be a meme that's going around, because that says the same thing. Let's go playoffs.
Pengu!
Pengu's back!
But not at the merch store.
Not at the merch store. No.
I'm getting angry, Valdez, because they're leaving so much money on the table.
I know.
Where is the plushie Pengu?
You make the money from selling it in-game.
And then you give the money
and
directly to Papa Smithy. So you got to make the money to pay Papa.
And
so I'm losing money.
They should be building a brand based on
Pengu.
those cute little things.
Yeah.
The little Pengus, and then just hand over the money to Papa. What's going on?
I'm willing to take 1%.
1%? That's probably like
many
millions
of dollars.
Speaking of which, we got a game. Game number 1 starts now. The fans are out in mass tonight.
Oh yeah, this one is about as big as could be.
It's about as sold out as it gets.
Are we really definitely sure that esports is not scripted? Because how does every LCK Summer ending, which is never like ultra stacked 4 games, somehow always like, yeah, just all 3 playoffs teams in top 3 are playing back to back to back also as all the other stuff happening. Like, it's so scripted. And how hard is it to script a double round robin best of 3 league with 90 best of 3s? How could they do it?
They're so talented.
And everyone is like really mad at Riot for legitimate reasons about different things, depending on where you sit. And yet they're also able to do this, Valdez.
The scripting is perfect, basically. As apparently Ghosts played Karma before.
Yes, one other game.
I don't remember.
I don't think it was Karma Kench. I don't remember that. But it is a lane that does something, which is not lose to Varus X strong lanes, right? And this week we've had a lot of support counter pick. We've had a lot of Varus first pick from teams like Jin Air. This is a different look as Kennen is going on hit. We get that confirmation. So Karma to try to get priority bot. On hit Kennen, priority top. Azir versus Corki. I think this is early priority Azir. And potentially some shields and disengage for Kha'Zix. So I guess a SANDBOX victory looks like OnFleek dumpstering Clid with hard aggression. But it's a swinging jungle matchup. Yes, you get in there and you EQ, but if you don't get what you want with the EQ, usually the receipt from Lee Sin involves your demise.
It's a lot of damage real fast in one of these people's faces. As for now, they're just going for full clears, the both of them. Not going to get too aggressive with the counter jungling just yet. And the bottom and mid lanes are not really lanes that will hold too much action.
Get confirmation that it is Reckless Style Doran's ring start here, so no gold pretend. If you go for the gold pretend, yes, Karma has more time to just auto attack down the enemies, but it's Tahm Kench CSing against a Braum, so you can get knocked into the concussive blows and stunned. You do have less lane presence than if you're just building to do a bit of everything. So that's the notable thing here, is that they are looking to control Teddy and effort as much as possible. Ring around the Rosie. Not sure what it's a pocket full of Vladimir at this point, as they don't find their man, and Clid is now going to be confused as the Scuttle does spawn.
And finally, he spots him here. Gonna get a resonating strike onto that Scuttle Crab, but it looks like that will be on Fleeks. Clid not going to fight over that one, just going to go Krugs. Get that camp to go ahead and respawn.
So we can all push, and Kha'Zix could potentially get in there and mess people up. However, it is the reverse of SKT's drafts earlier this week, which were, if you do your things, damn, are they powerful, else other team largely is very likely to win. Same story here. SKT is now on the other end, and they're usually on the end they were on in much of their win streak, where it was, look at our Corki Kai'Sa comp, we're going to win eventually. With Vladimir against Kha'Zix, I know that's not a lane matchup, but it's one of those. Vladimir very often accidentally kills Kha'Zix in a 5v5 because he dives other people, and RE basically just pops Kha'Zix. So there is definitely a late game win condition here for SKT. So how much can SANDBOX do with largely carte blanche to do whatever they want in the early game?
They got to take control. They got to be proactive. They have to be the ones on the front foot, rather, trying to make plays. And you have to wonder where exactly are the lanes where you are going to make those plays. You have priority in all the lanes, so maybe you can get a bunch of objectives.
Double Dorans and a dagger versus a cull. Like, SKT is basically saying, they basically got their wrists up, being like, you got me in the early game. They're basically accepting it. But can SANDBOX actually gleefully accept what that presents? Is an evolving story that we're going to have to inspect. So this is the sort of game where gold leads for SANDBOX are going to need to be sizable, and action will need to be swift, around kind of 15 to 25 minutes. So even if it's 5,000 gold lead at 22 minutes, you're still squirming. More if you're the side of SANDBOX than if you're SKT.
We always got one guy who's hunkering down for the winter and another side who's usually squirming as the game does come along. Had that a bit in the last series. Lots of long games in the last series. And with all the scaling we have in this game, did absolutely have that happen again, because we always talk about Vladimir, Corki, and Varus. Of course, they're going to scale pretty incredibly. But on the other side, you got that Azir, who always is kind of alone, scaling, doing his thing, especially when they don't have a true AD carry.
Not a lot of lanes for Kha'Zix to gank either. That's why the Kha'Zix is so weird, is you're like, yeah, I can see it working with a warrior enchant at the first fight with movement speed, but other than Summit with ult, like, it's very, very difficult for Kha'Zix. He really loves other people to have crowd control to do his thing. Small buff on this patch, 10 damage. On his Q, that of course is amplified if you're isolated. It's more than 10 in a lot of cases. But not really enough to lead to 3 Kha'Zix games in the past 24 hours. Here is OnFleek.
And Clid, both of them in the top side. And again, just going ahead and farming it out. We talked about what exactly can Kha'Zix do early. Farm is the name of the game here at the LCK.
He's not that good at farming, especially the
yeah,
AoE camps,
no, I know.
right?
That's pretty much all he can
He's
do.
good at taking drakes.
That is true.
Q Evolve was what we saw yesterday in the LCK. Tarzan, in case you guys were wondering, was the team that was playing that. Kha'Zix makes you wonder, was he playing it in scrims against SANDBOX? We're not to know, but is the chance that there was some information sharing going on there between the two?
Potentially.
Oh, nice little bending of the Q there, Kahn, but not the most consequential. Well, Clid's looking for a famous gank timing.
Oh, here we go again. The kick on in. We've all seen this one before, trying to trade onto Kahn, but it will not happen. And the kill, even going to go on the most important guy. Vladimir picks that one up early.
Summit didn't notice it until it was too late. The angle of the screen pointed away. That means that the aggressor of the lane falls behind the scaler of the lane. That is the start of a bad news story for SANDBOX Gaming.
It's definitely a fantastic timing to get on in there with the gank as well. Clid makes it happen again. It's pretty incredible what he can do on this Lee Sin. No hesitation either, went for the flash real quick to make sure. Summit, I feel like the second he saw Lee Sin, he's like, well, I'm not going to escape. So
but I don't think he saw Lee Sin now, because there would have been a flash timing flash over kick, right? There's like a... I don't even know how you estimate how much time you have between when someone presses DR or FR, depending on where their flash is, and it connecting with you. I would guess like 0.4 seconds or something. It didn't seem like he was ready for it. So in that case, once it started, the death was assured, so smart not to flash there from Summit. Doesn't lose them blue buff control, so it's not the worst case ever, but we've already gone into painstaking lengths talking about where this game is going. Right now, it's going towards an Cloud Drake for SKT.
That'll be a nice little Drake to pick up early. Not the best they could have gotten. Of course, with the Infernals, would have been perfect for their scaling comp, but either way, it'll make Clid even faster as Tom Kent is TPing in here.
Well, he's TPing. So
he was halfway down the lane.
Well, if that's the case, then he was off. He was askew. Valdez. To be honest, though, SKT, with the comp they had, wanted it to be a low-value Drake because they didn't think they would be in position to actually fight for Infernals early. So, yeah, as it goes, if you're being completely result-oriented, like, wow, couldn't it have been Infernal this time? But I think when it first spawned, they're like, oh, we can farm it.
Second Cloud is going to be the next one. It's SKT with the first blood. A tiny lead when it comes to CS. I guess that's mostly in the bottom side, but Azir feeling pretty good about the mid lane.
We actually have something that Summit's feeling a little bit good about, and that's that this is a wit's end game for Summit. When we've seen this matchup recently, it's been against a physical damage solo laner and a magic damage laner. But this time, Corki, Vladimir, that's a lot of magic damage. Varus, a bit of magic damage usually too. And this is on-hit Varus, by the way, not lethality, is top lane.
trying to trade him back. Kahn does have flash, but he gets demolished immediately in the span of again, about 0.4 seconds that time around. Kazakh's able to get in there real quick and pick up the kill.
So that looks very 20 IQ from Kahn, but if you watch the replay, maybe I'll be able to draw some sense out of why exactly that happened. My impression is that Kahn desperately wanted to push in and back, and thus he used his Hemo play to try to push Kennen away. OnFleek had already had it communicated from Summit that that was exactly what Kahn was likely to do, and he was there for the gank. That is my impression of what happened. But we'll wait to see if the replay lines up with all that.
That is the way it looked in the lane. You know, he was trying to spam E just to get it down, but all of that just telegraphing of the way that you're playing means that you can be taken advantage of. And that does mean that it's not only the kill, but the early Rift Herald that gets taken here by SANDBOX. So they wanted to get things started early. This is a good way to get them started.
So much of our top lane in Summer, I feel like, has been about freezes. Not quite the freezes that LS talking about in his video, but just trying to hold that minion wave outside a turret when you have damage dealer versus damage dealer in a long lane, which is something that was only really relevant in previous splits when it came to things like Irelia and things like that. So I think the teams have just gotten better at trying to hold on to lane positionings and try to attack them, and it's very often connected to jungle timings, so nicely done in that area. Summit is going that Wit's End first, so that is going to be the choice there. We'll get some on-hit lifesteal from this, but not, of course, the same value as a meleeed person.
Yeah, it's just perfect for this game, as you did mention. So we found something for the junglers to do early. SANDBOX still not ahead in gold, the way it does turn out. We'll see where he does want to use this Rift Herald, perhaps towards the mid lane. Already a play going down there to Dove. As OK Joker gonna get kicked in the wall into that Chains of Corruption, but he's gonna be stunned down as well. He's using literally everything just to try to survive. And now we have the perfectly timed ultimate from Braum. But too much damage on Navarez means that actually it will be a trade. 1 for 1, but now the mid laner's coming on in. Dove gonna get kicked on, and in goes Clid, looking for that play, but he's gonna have to back away. Kahn with the empowered Q. Does he have the damage? The big one from FLICKR from downtown is gonna pick up that last kill to end the fight.
So much aggro being exerted in the bot lane. Ends up still being fine from an SKT perspective. They got the re-engage TP back to lane from Teddy. We've had so many teleports already in this game. Plates are going down, and if you're going to go Karma bot lane and lose plates, doesn't necessarily inspire much confidence. We were talking about that positioning and the 2v2 there. Well, I would say they're definitely losing, Valdez.
They are losing. It is happening. The kill did go Ghost's way, but at the end of the day, SKT feeling pretty good about this.
And this was similar to what happened topside in that it was a ward timing for Joker, and already lying in wait was the Lee Sin. Lots of different teleports coming in. Remember, it's on-hit Kennen, but the stun into being able to hit closest target is the reason that Teddy went into the Death Chamber. He keeps up his flash. Could be important for the future. From there, it's a long-range damage. FLICKR's the one to pick up the kill secure.
Boom. That's the big one from downtown. FLICKR does pick it up. We don't get a replay of the Rift Herald, which seemed to have done an insane amount of damage in the mid lane. But it didn't look like anyone picked up too many plates. No. As perhaps that even happened after the fight, you'd have to imagine. So no plates going down any extra to the side of SANDBOX. So the Rift Herald play is going to give the 100 gold, I guess, and a bit of damage done.
Wit's End had to be a further back timing after the first reset. Only now is Wit's End done. Wait and see if that actually has the sort of impact it does on paper in the 1v1. It's not a 1v1. SKT runs straight at the Cloud Drake, and it will be an easy stack for them.
Third Cloud Drake coming up next. Stacking up the wind here in this game.
And they don't have to stack up the wins very far for SKT fans to be happy 2 wins out of 3, 1 best-of-3 victory, and SKT are ironclad for playoffs, whatever results come tomorrow.
Just got to win this one. Things starting off pretty well. Not getting FLICKR back onto the Karma anymore. I'm sure makes people happy already. This might not make Summit too happy, but the kick goes awry. Do they have enough damage anyway, as Summit does not have his flash, and even again, Kahn is going to pick up that kill, even though it looked like Clid was going for the kill secure there right at the end.
Clid Lee Sin popping off. Clid's in so much better form than he was when he was last playing the Lee Sin regularly during their losing streak. He is very, very strong on the champion, already been there for all of SK Telecom T1's kills. Double pick up a minion wave. But given what we've outlined with the fact that SKT has outscaled, the fact that they have been consistently ahead in gold, and being the team that is stacking the Drakes, they are more ahead than the 1,500 gold suggests.
They're in a fantastic spot here, right over the 15-minute mark. Whereas I feel like perhaps I cursed Summit a little bit. He's 0-3 after I called him top 3 top laner in the LCK.
Point to a top 3 top laner that hasn't had a bad performance. So, at the end of the day, this Kennen is on the extinction list. It feels like 0-3-2 behind in terms of farm compared to the clock. Therefore, may never be Vladimir busting in the side lane, because right now, second item, very, very far away.
Yeah, he's just going to try to hold on down there up against Kahn and hope not to get ganked again by Clid, but perhaps I spoke too soon, as here we go again. He's going to miss that Q, though, and stun comes down onto Kahn, which means that it's going to be a 2-for-1 here. Perhaps, as Summit is thinking about getting on in their effort, is going to come down and try to help out. Interesting unbreakable angle there, but trying to come in here and snipe, and he will. Teddy gonna pick up that one from downtown as well. Meanwhile, on the top lane, the aggression comes in, and OnFleek will be able to pick up a kill of his own.
They definitely need to spare the blush to their top laner. There's not much more he could have done than a 1v2 that became a 1v3, 1v4, so end of the day, buys a lot of time. Get some push in the mid lane, try and stack up those objectives where all those people who wanted to kill the damn Kennen are not.
That was a very, that was a pretty crazy just line of events that did happen right in a row. I can't wait to see the replay there, as Summit is just having a not fun time, but he's the last one getting the laugh, I suppose, after all that.
He gets a Kennen laugh too, and those are really annoying. Can you do a Kennen laugh? Give me a Kennen laugh. See? We can do it together. Well, that's what he was doing when everyone dived him, and you know the reason the kill couldn't come in? The Emo Plague wasn't there. To begin the fight would have really helped with even Lee Sin damage. Level 11, so the extra bolts are there to get all of the stuns nice and early. It starts off, bone plating begins, and they got him low. They just didn't have that lethal tick.
He didn't pull. He was stunned. He didn't do it on time. You have to pull early there just to try to avoid it. And then everybody comes down to the bottom lane, and thankfully the snipe comes in. Otherwise, Summit probably would have lived at the end of 5 people trying to gank you, essentially. 4 people, I guess, as FLICKR died up in the top lane.
But if Kennen never can do anything against Vladimir, and 5v5 is tricky for SANDBOX, can they find the fight they need? Now, what we will say is, it's going to be a farmed Karma in the mid game. And there will still be times where you might think that the SANDBOX comp doesn't have enough items to win 5v5s, where shields and mobility and Kha'Zix assassinating people might surprise you. So we're definitely not in already outscaled lull stage just yet for SKT to proclaim, but there really isn't any more trade downs available for SANDBOX. They've had some coupons to stay in this game. They got 50% off some moments that potentially could have just ended the game, but they're out of coupons.
Well, I suppose they can start cutting coupons for game number 2, because we're in a bit of a bind here if you are a SANDBOX. SKT coming down here, they'd like a 3rd Cloud Drake. As what LS likes to call the crown Drake. When you get 3 of them, your whole team gets really fast.
Oh, they got 3.
3 of them come down. Next one is Infernal. Not half bad. Here on the side of SKT. Trying to immediately push down the mid lane and take advantage of this is SANDBOX. Might be able to get a decent amount of damage here.
They're not really committing to it, though. You would think that they would go as a 5-man because they had a minion wave proxied between a Sun turret and the enemy team out of position, but they don't feel like that's their moment. You do have to wonder, what is their moment with this comp? They've got to show us something special.
It's definitely about... Well, FLICKR's looking for a play here, potentially. Okay. Dove wants it right now. He's getting on in there. He's got a bunch of friends coming with him as well. FLICKR in so much trouble and will be clawed down by that evil Kha'Zix once again.
Wonder how many Kha'Zixes FLICKR has faced since Umti's famous 94-minute pick on his Kassadin. That ended that series. It ended my suffering in that one. Caught out in transition here, and this time, through the Sun turret's duration, they do get an inner turret. And every time an inner turret is down at 21 minutes, you always start thinking about Baron.
Certainly got it on the mind, but a lot of that damage is going to come from the Azir, and actually even the Kha'Zix here with the Q Evolve can do a cheeky amount of damage to that singular objective.
Can we say cheeky a bit more Australian? Choiky.
Choiky.
Yeah. It's like crikey.
I've been practicing.
You haven't been VOD watching them.
You just
Google Aussieisms and you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
You're my favorite honorary Aussie.
Yeah. I guess it's between me and LS, so.
Yeah.
Kind of an easy
You're winning
win
easily.
for me. Yeah.
GG, baby. I'm calling it.
Yeah. GG. Sorry, LS.
Hope he's feeling better for tomorrow.
Yeah. What did you say it was? Lamentingly sick?
I said lamentably sick.
Lamentably.
Yeah, the chat is lamenting the fact that he's sick. Lamenting means to be kind of sad and wistful about. As Dove wasn't just going in feeling a solo kill that wasn't coming. He knew his boy on.
It's getting in there. Even Tom Kench was coming in for the rotation as well. So, you know, the second that big package is used from FLICKR, you're just like, well, maybe we can get this guy.
Come on, you're the big package expert. That didn't seem like the biggest of packages.
I mean, it's titled the big package. He just didn't swing it around as well as he should have.
No, it's titled the package. We've talked about this before.
Oh, really?
It can be a package of many different descriptions. Could be a late package, could be an early package.
Definitely early and kind of small, is what I'd say.
No one wants that.
Tried his best. No, nobody really wants that one. So,
are you waiting on any packages right now?
No, I actually did just get my most recent package of Pop-Tarts and Popcorners.
What adjectives would best describe this new package of yours?
Which I use to make...
That sounds like a delicious package.
Mexican food with... It's true. I make tacos and stuff like that.
Sounds good to me.
Thai rice, because the Korean rice is much more sticky. Yeah. It's actually... I don't know why you're giving me the space, Papa, but Japanese is more sticky than Korean, which is more sticky than like Thai rice.
What are we talking about right now?
We're talking about rice.
Okay. Just making sure.
You asked me about my package, so I wanted to tell you that.
I'm still waiting on my package from North America. It's a bit of an NA package.
Yeah? Which one is that?
It's the North American.
Just an NA one?
Yeah.
Okay. No more coconut water?
No.
For you? Oh, okay.
I'm a big fan of coconut water, but I've been coconut water sober in the last couple of weeks.
Okay, that's good. You don't want to, get too on that one. You don't want to get hooked on coconut water. As FLICKR...
SKT's in this weird spot where they're the scaling comp, and they know they're going to outscale, and they don't see the enemy team doing anything, and it's suspicious Valdez. It's like, wait, don't you know you're supposed to be doing things? And so you're really afraid of, like, the lull state breaker moments. Like, oh, we were just farming, and then Baron disappeared. And you're like, whoa. So this is, like, one of those moments where SKT's trying to check themselves, and they're pretty sure someone's going to wreck themselves, but it's unclear given just how quiet things are. So maybe we should whisper until some action.
It kind of is like, it's quiet.
There we go.
Kind of get a low volume cast.
We can get a low volume cast here. Get people to jack it up, whether they're on microphone or normally.
Guys, casters are too low.
But through the mid lane.
Nobody's safe.
Let's listen to the sounds of the riff.
Come on,
It was kind of it's a sound. It's a weird sound when it's just Azir super high attack speed hitting the minions.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite cha-ching, but it was of the cha-ching family.
It's kind of what Azir is all about. The bling bling, the money, the cash money. He's, you know, trying to stack it up to the late game. But it's also just the braum every time he jumps or does anything. Yeah.
He's old. Come on, I understand. I am also an old man like Braum. So I know how it is. It gets tricky.
You don't really make those sounds, though, unless something really great happens in a game of League of Legends.
That's not true. I have my rituals. I always, you'll know this, you sit next to me.
Yeah.
Every time I get into a chair, I usually let out some sort of onomatopoeia or squeal or something.
Yeah,
I'm always like, oh, you know, like.
Oh, all right. One of those.
Yeah, because it's fun to sit down. There's a bit of gravity going on. The cushion is usually nice.
Adds a little spice to your life.
Yeah.
You don't have enough with, you know, you don't get the cast with a lot of spice, so.
No, I don't.
Only me and Max get that spice.
Fingers crossed, LCK final. We did it in spring. Fingers crossed, LCK final. Maybe LS and I can combine powers. No official announcement yet, but hoping.
It's a possibility. As SKT run really fast, but they don't do many things with games
pretty
really fast.
Mr. Kenny.
And, well, Kahn, he's got a lot of speed here.
Uh-oh.
And he's taking an insane amount of damage. Oh, boy. Even had Joker and OnFleek coming down here to help out, but I don't even think he needed their help.
This is some good rotatos. Karma can always do that. So the 5v5 dream might be dead, but the Cunning Ruse dream is alive. That's a lot of inner turrets to be on the extinction list, and that now means that's a very, very long mid and bot lane for SKT to respond to potential Baron. Might need all of that Cloud Drake movement speed to keep tabs on SANDBOX.
We can say what we want about compositions and game states and stuff like that, but, you know, you're one mistake away from Kahn losing a fight, and then all of a sudden Baron goes down to SANDBOX. They're able to push and take a victory, even with the comp that perhaps at this minute in the game they wouldn't have been able to if mistakes were not made. So it'll be interesting to see if SANDBOX can squeak out a win from here.
This comp is made for splitting, but SANDBOX is pretty good at playing the map as the game goes on. You cannot judge them like a Genero KT that would find it very hard to close out with a comp like this. So while it's not anointed, I would say SKT, we know about scaling teamfight, also ease of execution, tremendously easier to close out a game with this comp. If SANDBOX get a Baron, which, look at this point, they're kind of shouting about how they're going to start it soon. It's tricky. You think about shields, you think about how much damage Kha'Zix does to isolated targets, and Azir has consistent damage. Kennen will draw a response. In that time, can someone be caught walking towards Kennen, or can Baron be completed, is kind of the sort of variables that SANDBOX is looking towards.
Kahn got his TP back with that unsealed spellbook. But level 16 here for Summit. You're pointing at that Phantom Dancer that was taken here. He's also got Wits and plus Lifesteal. So
Kahn does no damage to him in the 1v1 because remember it's going to be up to, I think it's a 600 damage shield from the Phantom Dancer, and it scales with resists because any sort of temporary health scales with resists like normal health does. Well, magic resist assured on the Wits End. So Kahn is built largely for teamfight flanks.
And
his life
this is
sucks.
disgusting! Please, put an end to it.
Now, good news for him, minion way far away. So, it's going to take a lot of time. He's going to get a recall off of this. SANDBOX, it's a push and pull. SKT have to walk forward, otherwise if they walk towards the cannon, goodbye goes the Baron. So they have to show pressure, and it's going to be a lot of this predictable push and pull, and someone can do something to change it. Can I point to people that can do crazy things? Abyssal Voyage, that catches people unawares. BDD just showed us Azir making every sort of engage. That could do a big play. So what is going to happen through all of this? Going to try and steal an Infernal. They do.
And there you go. SANDBOX picks it up. Kahn wants it, but he's not really able to. Nice chance of corruption, but perfect stopwatch timing. He's going to flash away and get out of here. In goes FLICKR, but I'm not sure about that big package. Nobody wanted to see that one. He's all alone. He's TPing out of here. And will they have the damage? Yes, they do, as the TP also going to go on cooldown. FLICKR trying to make the big play. Was the smallest package we've seen all night.
Partial commit. It looked pretty damn big, very long, but unfortunately not a triumphant one, as no one was joining him over the wall. Because of that, SANDBOX now have another thing that SKT have to respond to, because the death timer means they have 5 active people on the map. Summit's back to where he likes to be. It's whacking Kahn in the face, but Teddy's here.
Teddy's here. Teddy doesn't have chains of corruptions. Kahn stunned again, and one auto is going to do it, as Summit will get the 1v1 down. Oh, and he's got that big Phantom Dancer shield, trying to go 1v1 onto Teddy, but he will go down. But the Baron is going to go the way of SANDBOX as they zone out Clid with the Sand Soldiers. And SANDBOX in a pretty good spot in this game.
They're doing a really good job of creating elaborate ruse after elaborate ruse, and between that and a couple of mistakes, you could argue enforced mistakes, because the stakes of the game are getting higher. 2 Infernals in a row is so big. The SANDBOX maker wanted to make them pay. His mistake leads to all of the other things that happen. All SANDBOX have had on paper is that Summit is whacking away on Vladimir, and there's not much he can do. But through that, a lot of little incremental things have happened. SANDBOX have been making no mistakes, and suddenly there's a Baron out of really nowhere for the side of SANDBOX.
Feeling pretty good about it as well. You can see FLICKR still struggling to do damage. How much damage has Teddy done in this game, for instance? They don't feel like they're really ready to go for it, but Clid, thinking about it.
You know what he's waiting for here. He knows where Summit is for now.
All right, looking for the kick here on a dove. Another Zhonya's comes in, and that's going to be the timing they needed with Tom Kent and the shields coming in. SANDBOX will be pushing big time with the Baron buff, immediately starting with the bottom side.
Yeah, they already get that inhibitor turret they've been working over before. SANDBOX is making a hard draft to play look really easy, really nicely done from them. The minion wave will be cut by this sand turret, but it should die very shortly, Teddy. Be careful, mate.
Nobody wants to get near this cannon right now as well. I mean, Clid was 5 levels down. He just hit 14 now, but it's kind of sad in this game, and SANDBOX are so far ahead now. Sand Soldiers go forward, and you're like, well, SKT don't have a leg to stand on. They have this scaling comp, but they can't get in range to do damage.
But how many teams tried to deal with Corki comps that SKT was drafting in every moment and failed again and again in that win streak? SKT had the else SKT victory. Shield up. It's taken SANDBOX being pretty inspired with a draft that clearly they had no interest revealing any of 2 days ago as they limped over KT Rolster. A lot of baiting to happen here. FLICKR thought there was a kill to be gotten. He misjudged it. The great man can make mistakes like the rest of us. That one was a whoopsie. The TP was on the closer side to completing, but unfortunately another cooldown donated to SANDBOX.
You can see Kahn's trying to force it at this point. He's like, okay, let me try to go for it. Teddy went the long way around and kind of baited Kahn into that one, to be perfectly honest. Thankfully, he did get the kill at the end of it all. But was Baron, the possibility for 2 for 1.
But Baron, of course, the cost of him walking up there. OnFleek is on this Kha'Zix, and this has been, you know, go 3-0-1 and generally do stuff is not easy as Kha'Zix in a game like this, but he's been going around, and again, I'm reminded of Umti. Didn't do much for 93 minutes and then blew one person up, because turns out if you find someone, that's what Kha'Zix's kit does. That was the major factor of that game. Clid will hope one kick can do it, but he doesn't even have a flash to set up said kick.
He doesn't have a flash. Kahn doesn't have a flash. Maybe he can rotate soon, but
run away, Fake.
You need to have just the perfect flank, and you need to be able to separate away from Tom Kench. And ideally, you'd like Summit not to be there with this infinity edge that you're saying uh-oh about.
That is a big feat.
Well, this is one way to try to do it, force a fight against the Karma. FLICKR nearly able to do it with that last crit, and even the piercing arrow from downtown was able to come true.
Good timing too. Elder's on the map. Ghost does have TP. Will he get a back away from it here?
Oh, he had to go for it, and he will get it off. So TP comes in now.
Okay, this could be a big moment. This will be a 5v5.
And SKT, they know they have to go for it. The lanes are pushing in mid and bottom. Kahn in the front line, stunned, but he is able to get that pull off, but it just doesn't matter. OnFleek, though, the jungler is going to go down. FLICKR pretty low at this point, but Clid can always threaten the smite steal.
Until spellbook, but no smite on Joker.
He's the same level as Clid. See if he can actually switch to it here. We're trying to stop the base as well as FLICKR's back at home. They just want to zone Clid out, and Clid a little bit too low. He can't get in range. That's going to be the Elder going the way of SANDBOX. They're looking for more. And Summit's going over the wall. He's critting them down, and Dove will pick up the triple kill as he flashes over. They're going to be looking to push now with this Elder bow.
SANDBOX Gaming in the fight for first place as of the end of the second match day of the season has come in with a very risky draft. They pulled it off in game number 1. And SKT, who need this match win to control their own destiny when it comes to playoffs, right now it's just the minions. It's all going to end right now.
No Hema Plague here on Kahn. It's going to basically be up to FLICKR, but the shields are going to be quite good.
TP coming in.
TP comes in. That will net them their first Nexus turret, but they need those minions to come in. They're going to be relying on Summit to do that damage with the auto attack.
They're not looking to end, it looks like.
Oh boy, taking it really slow. And with the Elder, with the burn, and the Sand Soldiers, you would think they would just go for it, but instead, play in the safe game. They don't want to all die and give Baron away and give SKT a chance back in the game.
That definitely felt like one where you YOLO on the base and it ends. I'm very surprised that it didn't, but SANDBOX are pro players. They usually have fantastic shot calling in the late game. They didn't see it as a possibility. They know that if they do back away Baron as a certainty, they'll take the certain Baron over the likely end.
They've all got a ton of gold after winning the fights, getting a bunch of kills. Might as well group up with the Baron buff.
Here is the replay. The reason OnFleek died is he put everything into FLICKR, and FLICKR was out of the fight, one way or the other. So, you could argue it was largely worth, even though it made this play really hard to actually get the Elder. FLICKR stayed in base in order to deal with the super minions pushing onto the Nexus. Got all very close, but intelligent target selection meant that Clid was never healthy enough to get into smite range, so even though there was no smite from Tom Kench, it didn't matter. We saw a triple kill this late in, and we assumed it was over. It is not, and there is a cogent question to ask of, does the Elder change the 5v5 that much, given SKT's run?
The Elder also 10 seconds away from going down, so might not even need to think about that one, as the inhibitors will be the first casualties before the fights do start here.
Where is the Alamo for SKT? If they give up 2 inhibitors, they cannot allow auto attackers to walk up to the Nexus.
All right, they caught Kahn on the flank. They saw him coming in. Now OnFleek in a little bit of trouble. He has GA, and big boy Summit comes in. He's going to help keep his ally safe.
Draft has never been about a true 5v5 by SANDBOX. So how do they play this out? OnFleek wants to W the waves and get a bit of life back.
Summit attacked Lee Sin once. He lost 25% of his health. And we have an Azir in this game. He does it again to FLICKR. The crits are real, but down will go the GA. Is it going to matter? Hemo Plate comes in. But the shields look pretty big, and those SKT health bars are pretty low. In goes FLICKR. He immediately gets dunked down. And SANDBOX are going to be able to take this game number 1 at 40 minutes in.
What an intriguing game number 1 between SANDBOX and SKT. And here is something to remember. Summit was mercilessly camped in the early game here. At one point was 1-4, I believe, and still was able to prosper.
0-4.
With his ability to play side lanes, got that trade under turret. That didn't look like it would ever happen. Hemoplague was on cooldown, we remember. And then it still became about his side lane pressure. We presumed dead his hopes of being relevant on the Ken, and how wrong we were as SANDBOX go for the Kha'Zix, go for the Karma bot lane, and they make it all work. And now they're one game away of saying, well, here's to you, Dumb One Gaming, and Griffin, you're gonna have to work to finish first.
That's really the message they're trying to send. They want to give themselves the best chance of at least getting into the best seed possible. So a 2-0 would be pretty nice if they can pull it off. We were looking at the stats before, and I think it was if Dom1 got a 2-1 victory, they would still get ahead of SANDBOX.
Head-to-head.
Yeah, because of the head-to-head tiebreaker.
Any victory for Griffin, and they are guaranteed first. It's an uphill battle, and yet, isn't it nice 1 week before playoff starts to see SANDBOX with new ideas, with being able to execute trickier comps than just scaling? Even if they end third, which is the worst case scenario for SANDBOX, they cannot fall lower than third. They get to watch a wildcard match next Wednesday, and they get to prepare for a best of 5 on Friday, knowing that they just put together a pretty impressive draft, and everyone now is sitting there being like, wait, what is SANDBOX going to play against us? And SANDBOX are the team consistently that never is able to be categorized into an easy-to-understand box. For some teams, it's so easy. Look at all the legends on this team. Look at all the mechanical talent on this team. I don't think SANDBOX has either of those in droves, and yet they're always so impressive in what they do, and Comet brings the new stuff better than most.
Yeah, I mean, just what you're mentioning is a problem with what I feel most people were saying, you know, SANDBOX, I'm not so sure, you know, they're good, but I can't really bet on them. It's because they were struggling to have an identity and really prove it time and time again. You know, inconsistency was there, but they're becoming more and more consistent, and they're going to be ending up top 3 if they do win this game at the end of the day up against SKT.
SKT just mercilessly cut here, you know, mercilessly attacked was the Vladimir in particular, could never get into a flanking position, and it frustrated them. You know, they didn't actually have the tonic there, so again, big win. Really interesting game. Both teams with so little initiation, and yet it ended up being just about that movement that was so important from SANDBOX. Now, a lot of this could be rewritten, a Karma ban, and a lot of pieces have to change to recreate it, so action again over to SKT. They tried the early game and lost earlier this week. They tried the scaling, and they didn't win here either, Valdez.
Well, it didn't work out for them there in game number 1, but SANDBOX, they want to clinch top 3. We'll see if they can move on to a 2-0, or will SKT fight back? Let's find out after the break.